What's up, guys? It's Flash back with some more charts, another video. Tuesday, April 1st, 6:18 p.m. Eastern. Happy April Fool's Day. I don't have any jokes for you guys today, just got the charts. Gonna keep it business as usual today. We're gonna look at Bitcoin, gold, Bitcoin measured in gold, strategy with Bitcoin, strategy with gold, and then we're gonna finish things off with MSTY. I prepared the charts ahead of time so that we can get to the point and make it a better viewing experience for you guys. So here we are with Bitcoin. This is the rainbow wave. This is the power law indicator. Not much has changed, guys, from my other videos. So we're just kind of chugging along. We've fallen outside of this lower boundary here. We want to get back up there, get back into it, right about 100K. And then we want to finish this year strong, getting up to maybe 200K, maybe 250 if we're lucky. That's kind of what my forecast is based on the power law, based on this indicator. And I'll also throw on here, we got the pi cycle, moving averages, and we got the pi cycle top indicator. So this is something I'm also going to be tracking as we progress here, because I do think, if Bitcoin is going to go on another massive run, that the pi cycle moving averages will continue to, I think play a part, play a role in Bitcoin's life cycle. It certainly has before, and since we're going off the power law and this indicator, I think we can combine them and hopefully see if we can kind of identify where the top for the price action is going to be in the coming year or two. That being said, I'm still, a believer in hard money and sound money. I do think that, you're going to want to have Bitcoin in 2029, right? In 2035, and if you think about that thought today, here we are, March or April 1, 2025. Would I have really cared if I was buying the top back in 2017 or, back in 2013, if I was just buying Bitcoin back in 2019, looking back now, I wish I bought as much as I could have back then, right? And not so much worry about tops and bottoms. So even back in 2021, it would have been a great time to buy. Michael Saylor talks about how he's just going to keep buying the top forever, right? So I think that's just an interesting thought exercise. We maybe want to take some off the table if you really want to, but in 5, 10, 15 years, I think you're going to be saying to yourself, or I'll at least be saying to myself, I wish I bought more Bitcoin. And so that's just, if we look at the power law and the rainbow wave in another perspective and the regular scale, here we are today, April 1st. Every day, every week, the power law and the network is growing, right? So again, just another perspective, this thing just goes to the moon endlessly. It's going up forever, in my opinion. So a little bit of a rant here at the beginning of the video. Let's transition and get into kind of the price action as I see it today. And so if you've been following me, I've been talking about these domed consolidations. This is the third one in this cycle so far from what I've plotted. We got some kind of a consolidated triangle here now that we've broken out of the domed consolidation. And so just looking back from the previous consolidations, we've kind of formed this ascending channel or this bear flag, whatever you want to call it, as we break out of the domed consolidation. We did it way back here too, back in September of 2023. So this is something I'm looking for right now, and whether this is the channel that it's going to be in, or maybe it's comes down to be like this, or I don't know per se, but I do think this is kind of worth plotting as we kind of continue on the trek and breaking out of this domed consolidation. I'll also pull up the M2 money supply indicator, and we'll adjust this to a 100-day offset. I've been listening to like Colin Talks Crypto. He's got this offset going, so it's 108 days. So we may still kind of chop around in this consolidation in this green triangle if we're going to keep following this, right? And so this is kind of just speculation, but he's kind of done the math and the correlation around 108-day offset of the M2 money supply overlaid on Bitcoin's price. The money supply also, it's starting to, top out a little bit, it looks like, just right now, recently. So we want this to kind of continue going higher too, at the very least. All right, now let's look at gold. So gold is kind of still in these channels, right? And we're going to find out if this is going to take a break or if it's going to keep on trucking. But I know a lot of people have been calling targets for around $3,000, $3,100 for gold. It's kind of the measured moves of a lot of things. If we take some flag pulls here, it lines up pretty well. So gold's just been on an absolute tear, which I think it's kind of sniffing out the loss of purchasing power over time. And I think it's maybe leading Bitcoin. So we'll kind of keep our eye on that. But if we look at Bitcoin measured in gold, just another look and feel, a different look and feel of this chart. But again, I used to kind of play around with this and we'd have like a big dome on here. And, we kind of broke out of that dome, right? So I used to kind of have this mindset where, I'm not so sure about Bitcoin. I think gold is really the one telling the true story. But I have converted to being fully Bitcoin. It's the harder money. It's the more sounder money, portable, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this chart is so this is Bitcoin growing in a power trend versus gold. So just like it has a power law versus the US dollar, it also grows in a power trend, power law versus gold. So if we zoom in here, doing I think a handle of some sort, right? So just kind of keeping our eye on this. I do think this is going to continue to the upside. All right, let's look at strategy. So strategy on the daily time frame, this looks pretty good, guys. Steady as she goes. You're starting to kind of see, maybe a little bottoming pattern here in terms of an inverse head and shoulders. But man, as this had a downtrend and now we're kind of going a less steep downtrend, pretty soon we're going to be going flat here. And then that's when you want to start getting really aggressive and going up and to the right. So that's kind of what these trend lines represent. I think if Bitcoin can start breaking out of this, continuing up this channel, right? And maybe breaking out of the upwards channel. Like something like that. I think that's going to mean really good things for strategy. And that's going to help strategy get to, our first target here of $1,100. And again, this is per MicroStrategist's acceleration model, ballistic model, I should say. All right, now we'll look at strategy measured in Bitcoin, again on the daily time frame. And if we zoom way out here, this is kind of what we're looking at. Strategy measured in Bitcoin, right? So we'll zoom back into this recent uptrend. And what I did with this yellow kind of arc is like we can kind of copy these over. Oops. But this is kind of doing what it normally does here. Strategy will break out, run against Bitcoin, and then consolidate. Breakout, consolidate, breakout, consolidate. Kind of in this, the bowl isn't necessarily where price action is going to go. It's just kind of containing price action. It looks like it has in the past, right? So this is just setting expectations. If we're not breaking out right now, that doesn't mean we can't break out, next month. That's kind of what this bull represents. So everything's looking pretty good. I'm liking the way the chart looks for strategy measured in Bitcoin. Strategy measured in gold, this really hasn't changed all that much either. Kind of a bigger picture, bigger idea chart, but the idea is, big run up right here. Now you got your inverse head and shoulders with a breakout and a back test. This is also like one big cup and handle, right? So the target is ultimately going to be up here, at 1.2. MSTR would be 1.2 that of gold, right? So when we think about that today, gold is $3,000 or it's $3,100, right? So if gold stayed flat, we would do 3,100 times 1.2. That would get us to a strategy price target of 37.20. And that's just kind of getting up here and gold staying the same. So I do think gold is going to continue to appreciate. So maybe gold gets to $5,000, right? And if strategy goes up this channel and gets to a 1.2 or a 1.3 even of gold, 5,000 times 1.3, that's $6,500 for strategy. So it's just kind of a different way of thinking about the ratio, right? This is the ratio strategy measured in gold. So whatever the denominator is, that's what it's being measured in. Last but not least, we'll look at MSTY, MISTY. This is the income generation ETF by YieldMax. So this is not adjusted for dividends. If I adjust this chart for dividends, it's going to look like this. So the lines are a little bit messed up, but you see breakout, consolidation, hopefully another breakout. I like not adjusting it because I think it can kind of help us identify when we're overbought or when we're oversold. It's kind of like an oscillator of MSTR. So this looks like it's kind of breaking out, again, similar to what MSTR is doing. We just want to continue going to the upside. And then, MSTR looks really good. I really like the way this chart looks. We just need to kind of give it some more time. But again, I do think it could get violent in the near future. And then, Bitcoin, again, looks pretty good. If we zoom in into this channel, that the halfway mark is kind of, marking these bottoms, right? And so then I kind of just extended the halfway mark out to this bottom here and got a nice reaction. So going to stay the course here, guys. We'll keep the power law in mind. Again, I like to see the bigger picture. Drop me a like if you guys found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.